Yeah, so I'm Michael. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Zero-G, and now also the co-founder and executive chairman of a DAT called ZeroStack. So at Zero-G, we're building the largest and fastest AI layer 1. And effectively, we're making AI that is safe, transparent, verifiable, and also fully decentralized, and we'll go into why that's important. But let me give a little bit of a background on myself as well. So I started on the technology side. I worked for Microsoft and SAP Labs as an engineer and technical product manager. Then I switched over more to the business side. I worked for Bain & Company and then Bridgewater Associates, which is one of the largest hedge funds in the world. After that, I moved back to the West Coast, Silicon Valley, and went to Stanford. That's when I started my first Y Combinator-backed Web2 unicorn company. I ran that for a number of years. And then in 2022, with Zero-G, it really started with the team first before we even built the idea over time. And the idea came because we saw ChatGPT 3 starting to have a big moment. It was a big moment for AI. And then we thought 5 to 10 years in the future, if AI is going to run big processes like airports and societal level systems, we need AI that's fundamentally safe. And we wanted to create a thing that's different from what black box AI is doing. Black box AI is effectively AI where you don't know what's under the hood, where the data came from, who labeled the data, what the censorship decisions were for AI. So we wanted to create this as an opposition so that we can have AI that's belonging to everyone. And so our mission at Zero-G is to make AI a public good. Effectively, let me dive a little bit deeper into this notion of black box AI effectively. So what current AI players are doing is building big centralized data centers. And so that is the inherent problem right now with black box AI. You start using those agents in bigger systems, it can spell really big danger. It could come to a situation where you have a potential Terminator situation where AI decides we no longer need human beings. And so that's why Zero-G exists, to bring AI back into the hands of communities and make AI that, as I said, is safe, transparent, and verifiable. Yeah, and this is actually inherent in our name as well. So our philosophy is actually in the name Zero-G, or zero gravity if you spell it out. The idea is that we want to build infrastructure that when you're in Zero-G, it's frictionless. It's weightless. And that's why we also have this philosophy of you should just come to one place to have all of the tools available to build whatever AI system you want. And so therefore we created this decentralized AI operating system, because there's different components you need for AI. One component is you need storage. Where do you store agent memories? Where do you store the models? Where do you store the training data? There has to be a place for that that's decentralized. Then, in order to run things like inference or fine-tuning, which basically if you've interacted with an AI model and you put in a prompt, that's an inference. You're asking the model to do something for you. For that, you need something that's called compute. And so for compute, you need GPUs on the network. So we've built a compute layer. And in order to connect these two with different services, you also need something called a service marketplace. It's kind of like an app store, if you will. And then finally, in order to run applications and smart contracts where you can have agreements, you need a layer 1 that's at the base. And so we just wanted people to come to one place and to have all of the tools available. And so therefore, even though it's technically very, very complex and there's a lot of work involved, we built one system that can handle everything. And so therefore we coined the term decentralized AI operating system. The easiest way to think about it, if you have a mobile phone, you have a piece of hardware basically, so that's like the GPU in the system. And then on that mobile phone, when you turn it on, you have essentially a screen with a bunch of applications. So the applications are running on an operating system. It's either Android or iOS. And so very similar, if you want to build AI applications, we have this operating system for you. And as part of building that application, you can use the different layers. And then there's a set of standard applications that you can use when effectively you're on your phone with the DAIOS. One of those, for example, is the app called AIverse. With AIverse, you can create AI agents, and then through this new concept of an intelligent NFT or INFT, you create this agent and then also fully own the rights to that agent. So we created this new standard where for the first time, you can definitely say that this NFT, this INFT, when it's in your wallet, that this agent now belongs to you. This ownership was not possible before, Because if you go to a place like OpenAI and you create an agent on OpenAI, then the agent may belong to the platform, it may belong to you, or if OpenAI decides to change its terms and conditions, it may no longer belong to you in the future. And so, but with this, you have complete ownership of your AI agent. So that would be one of the applications, for example, that would be on in this analogy phone. And there will be many, many others. So there will be anything from research companies using AI agents to do research, to AI agents doing analysis of your biometric data to give you better health recommendations. And so you'll see a lot of different types of applications. So Zero-G is building the largest AI meets decentralized AI ecosystem where you'll be able to find all of these applications that you can interact with. So generally, black box AI companies will try to procure as many GPUs as possible, stuff them into data centers, and then train their models. Now, decentralized AI is very different because anything can be a computing device, and that's what we're effectively working on. So even your cell phone that you have in your pocket could be a computing device that's contributing to inference or fine-tuning or any of these training processes. And so we're working on the infrastructure to make that possible. And so we're working on any device being able to contribute to the computing power. So you're no longer limited by the physical area in a particular area. For example, I have a friend who's building nuclear power plants, and her go-to-market literally is AI data centers. And so that could become also a terrorist target. But by decentralizing, you can spread out the energy requirements and the compute requirements across many, many participants, and then those participants can also reap the benefits of that. So the first bucket is all about providing security to the network. And that's generally in the form of what's known as staking, because specific blockchain is a proof of stake blockchain. You need to actually put your stake, and with that stake, you start validating transactions. And if you do something incorrect on the chain, you can actually then get slashed. And so you're putting your money at risk effectively. So there's a security layer. Then there's a governance layer, because in order to vote, you have to have some tokens, because you need to be a token holder effectively. And then the bucket is all about the utilization of the infrastructure and the applications. So the infrastructure, as I mentioned, are things like storage, things like compute, like where you pay for GPUs. Our mission is to make AI a public good. That's not a one-year type of mission. That could be decades, maybe even a lifetime to achieve that particular mission. And so now what I've been telling the team actually is that post-listing, it's just day one. Before it was day zero, now it's day one. Because with the launch of the token and the mainnet, we can now see real transactions. We can now see our marketing initiatives and the return on investment that we can get from it. Now there's kind of a real aspect to it. And so incentives become real, marketing activities become real. So the next 3 months will be all about building the ecosystem. We need to build a strong liquidity layer because that's one of the key value propositions in Web3. We need an application layer. And so once the best builders come, they build applications which then attract kind of the best users. We need to consistently double down on our leadership and research. So in the last few months, we've released 5 research papers, 4 of which are in top AI and software engineering conferences. So we're quite pleased with the throughput and the performance of the chain today. We can increase our performance by a factor of 10x. Because when we do that, then any application that you know today, let's say like a WhatsApp or KakaoTalk, can then be built fully in a decentralized fashion. You get verifiability, you get up to 95% lower costs, you get privacy yet transparency if you need it. And so there's a lot of benefits to reap from building in a decentralized AI fashion. We've got about 70 people now. We're about 2 years old as a company. And so we have a very, very high talent bar. We're actually going to make some big announcements pretty soon on the types of people that we bring in. But we have people like former co-founders of Sonic, for example, big product leads of Avalanche, and kind of one of the key BD people from Chainlink, as well as people from the traditional environment. So we've got top product managers from Amazon. We have McKinsey and Bain consultants. We have people on the hedge fund side, like Bridgewater, as I mentioned, as well as Jump Crypto and different like trading firms like Merrill Lynch and so on. And so the talent really, really matters. It has to be absolutely S talent, super self-motivated, but they have to fit into the overall cultural context. And our culture is very much compassion-based, a conscious-based culture, gratitude-based culture, because we want it to feel like a big family, because not only do we work super intense, we also have to have some fun and a lot of good rest together. So you will find us often have big offsite. We believe in like intense work, but also intense rest. Like those two have to be together. Otherwise, we're not going to be here for the long term. So we always think long term. And so that was one challenge, like finding the right people. Other challenge is Web3 and AI move super fast. Every week there's a new research report that comes out about some new capability, whether it's on an AI model or some new breakthrough on the infrastructure side, and we just have to stay nimble. So things happen very rapidly, and so for example, earlier this year, the AI agent narrative was very trendy, and we were a little bit too late at kind of investing into it. We caught up, of course, over time, but that's also a key challenge, making sure new market trends, we're ahead of it. So for example, I believe next year will be, the starting year of robotics. And so we need to make sure we have the infrastructure and the application layer that people can interact with kind of robotic solutions. And so we're starting to build up to that. And so that's another key challenge that we've addressed.